Morning.
Last week we were talking about how we became the steward of the mystery. And then we explained what the mystery was. But we never got the opportunity to stop and ask ourselves, what's a steward? You're a steward of the mystery. What's a steward? He's a manager, he's in charge, the master is in charge. What is a steward? And like many things, when we don't understand it, what do we do with it? We either abuse it or we sell it for less. Or in this case, as we learned in Ephesians, if we don't understand something, we live below our privilege. If you don't understand your worth, you allow others to treat you as if you are worthless. So he's saying, as a steward of God, there are responsibilities that we need to have. Responsibility that we need to understand so we can live up to them. And so I thought, why don't we just take a break from Ephesians, just one Sunday, and drop in Luke chapter 16, verses 1 through 15, and find out what is a steward, right? Because that's a very important word. That word comes with lots of responsibility. But if we don't understand that word, then we become what? Like everybody else. So our aim is to come to the understanding of what it means to be a steward of the gospel, so that we are able to carry out the life-saving responsibility that comes with it. Did you get that? Life-saving responsibility that comes with it. Last week we talked about how we were called to be a steward of the mystery. We also found out that the mystery was the gospel, which was that the Gentiles were added to the plan of redemption. Since we were added, we became steward of the gospel, which is the power to save. So my question this morning is, yes, we have been made a steward of the gospel. Do we understand what it means to be the steward of the gospel? Do you fully understand the meaning of what that word is, or the responsibility that comes with it? We've been learning that the only way we can understand something, the only way to show that we understand something, is to put it into action. And we move from the studying to the application by making it practical. What does the word steward mean, and what is the responsibility that comes with it? So this morning, I'm going to dive a little deeper into the word before we understand. The word means a manager of a household or an estate. And these were usually slave or free men. In 1 Corinthians chapter 14, chapter 4, verse 1 to 2, it says, let a man regard us in this manner, servant of the Lord Jesus Christ and steward of the mysteries of God. In this case, moreover, it is required of a steward that one be found trustworthy. A steward is not just anybody. A steward is one who is found trustworthy. A steward is one who is trustworthy. Trustworthy not only when people are watching. Trustworthy in handling everything and all things that is placed before him. Trustworthy in their daily walk, because the Lord is what? Here. Trustworthy because the Lord hates lies. In Proverbs 6, verse 16 to 19, it says, there are 6 things which the Lord hates. Yes, 7 which are an abomination to him. And haughty eyes, that's prideful eyes, usually followed by lying. A lying tongue, I have to explain that one, that's a lying tongue. Hands that shed innocent blood. In order for you to shed innocent blood, there's definitely some lying involved. A heart that devises wicked plans. Oh, there's lying there too. Feet that run rapidly to evil. Oh, you best believe there's lying. A false witness who uttered lies. False witness who uttered lies. I think that's one of your commandments. Thou shalt not bear false witness. And one who spreads strife among the brothers. Oh, there's more lying there too. Why does God seek a steward who is trustworthy? Because he hates lying. And we become master at lying. Haven't we? Oh, it's just a little white lie. Well, that's a little racist. You ever picture this? You come home from work. You're tired. Dead tired. The phone rings. And it says, hey, Dad, somebody wants to talk to you. What do you say? Tell them I'm not here. That's a lie. Guess who's watching you lie? The child. And when that child lies back to you, what do you say to them? Where did you learn that from? This is where you open the mirror and look in it. They learned it from you. A steward is one who is trustworthy in everything that they do. This is the part that gets to me. People say, oh, it's so hard to be a Christian. You know, the government has made it in a way that I got to lie to them before I get what I want. If you have to lie to get anything, you don't need it. Let that sink in. If you need to lie to someone, it's not needed. You are made to be the example to the world. You should not behave like the world behaves. A steward is a preacher of the gospel and a teacher of the word of God. It refers to elders or bishops in the churches. In Titus chapter 1, verse 5 through 9. For this reason, I left you in Crete, that you will set in order what remains, and appoint elders in every city as I directed you. Namely, if any man is above reproach, the husband of one wife, having children who believe, not accused of dissipation or rebellion. For the overseer be above reproach as God's steward, not self-willed, not quick-tempered, not wine, not pugnacious, not found or sordid gain, but hospitable, loving what is good, sensible, just, devout, self-control, holding fast and faithful word, which is according with the teaching, so that he will be able to both exhort in sound doctrine and refute those who contradict. First off, we're not looking for elders. I'm just reading the scripture. Because a lot of us love to jump off stream and jump into different things. According to this it said a steward is one who is what? Trustworthy, and also what? Above reproach. Reproach indicates there is no dishonor in him. There is no disgrace. His life is exemplary. He's not one who's telling you, hey, you got to do this, and then you find him around the corner doing something completely different. He does what is good, sensible, just, devout, self-control. That's the word. Self-control. A good steward does not forget to show mercy, because God has granted him mercy. Steward is one who is above reproach. Reproach means without disgrace or without dishonor. As a preacher or a teacher, as a steward of the word of God, we are called to be trustworthy and without disgrace and dishonor of believers generally. In 1 Peter 4, verse 7 to 11, the end of all things is near. Therefore, be of sound judgment and sober spirit for the purpose of prayer. Above all, keep fervent in your love for one another, because love covers a multitude of sins. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. Be hospitable to one another without complaint. That's it. As each one has received a special gift, employ it in serving one another as a good steward of the manifold grace of God. Whoever speaks is to do so as one who is speaking the utterance of God. Whoever serves is to do so as one who is serving by the strength which God supplies, so that in all things God may be glorified through Jesus Christ, to whom belongs the glory and dominion forever and ever. Everything you do as a good steward, you do as an extension, because God wills it as so. You know why he does that? So you can boast about how great you are. But that doesn't stop our labor. So this morning, let's turn to our text. in Luke chapter 16, verse 1 through 15. As we go through this text, I want you to say to yourself, think to yourself, meditate on this path. What kind of steward am I? Am I a good steward, or am I a shrewd, or am I a bad steward? Now, he was also saying to his disciples, there was a rich man who had a manager. This manager was reported to him as squandering his possession. The he here is Christ, speaking to whom? His disciples, telling them that a rich man who had a manager was squandering his possession. If we are paying close attention, you will notice that Christ is telling them, his disciple and us, that the rich man is whom? God. And when squandering his possession, we'll have to answer to him on Judgment Day. The question of what have you done with what I have blessed you with will need an answer by all who stand before him. And he called, verse 2, and he called him and said to him, what this I hear about you? Give an account of your management, for you can no longer be manager. The manager said to himself, what shall I do, since my master is taking the management away from me? I am not strong enough to dig. I am ashamed to beg. I know what I should do, so that when I am removed from my management, people will welcome me into their homes. And he summoned each of the master's debtor, and he began saying to the first, how much do you owe my master? And he said, 100 measures of oil. And he said to him, take your bill and write down quickly and write 50. Then he said to another, and how much do you owe? And he said, 100 measures of wheat. And he said to him, take your bill and write 80. And his master praised the unrighteous manager because he had acted shrewdly. For the sons of this age are more shrewd in relation to their own kind than the sons of light. And I say to you, make friends for yourself by means of the wealth of unrighteousness, so that when it fails, it will receive you into eternal dwelling. It is not possession that is at risk here, but where you spend eternity is what it's telling you. Did you squander what he has blessed you with unworldly things and making friends with the world? Isn't it funny how we like to make friends with the world? Well, God is love, so God said we have to love everybody, right? So you got to love the world. Let's turn to James, chapter 4, verse 1 through 4. James says, what is the source of quarrels and conflicts among you? Is it not the source of your pleasure that wages war in your members? You lust and do not have. So what do? You commit murder. You are envious and cannot obtain. So what do? You fight and quarrel. You do not have because you do not ask. You ask and do not receive because you ask with the wrong motive, so that you may spend it on your pleasure. He says that big word. You adulteresses. Do you not know that friendship with the world is hostility toward God? Therefore, whoever wishes to be friends of the world makes himself an enemy of God. If you thought that, I just said it one time. The Apostle John repeats the same sentiment in 1 John chapter 2, verse 15. Do not love the world nor the things in the world. If anyone loves the world, the love of the Father is not in him. For all that is in the world, the lust of the flesh and the lust of the eyes and the boastful pride of life is not from the Father, but is from the world. The world is passing away, and also its lust. But the one who does the will of God lives forever. It's your choice. Do the will of the world, die with the world. Do the will of God, you live forever. What's your choice? You know, say, I choose God. That's the first time God heard that before. in the Old Testament, oh, you're the only God we want. You're the one true God. Why would we choose any other God? Moses tell God we okay with it. And then when God turned his eyes, what happened?
Look at a calf.
Right back into idolatry. And then asked Aaron, Aaron, what happened? Bro, you know these people. They're prone to these things. He said, even though they gave it to me and I threw it in and a golden calf came out. How does that work? We claim to choose God but behave like the world. In verse 10 to 13, listen. He said, he who is faithful in very little things is faithful also in much. And he who is unrighteous in very little things is also unrighteous in much. He who is faithful in the little things can be trusted with the big things, right? But he who is unrighteous in the little things is also unrighteous in the big things. You know what that sounds like? Tell me this. If somebody is willing to bring a gossip to you, there's a 99.9% chance they're going to take a gossip about you to somebody else. If somebody is willing to lie to your face, there's a 99.9% chance they will lie on you too. He who is faithful in little will be faithful in much. Therefore, 11, if you have not been faithful in the use of unrighteous wealth, who will entrust the true riches to you? You know, the unrighteous wealth you were running after? You're not even faithful in that. So who's going to trust you with the righteous one? And if you have not been faithful in the use of that which is another, who will give you that which is your own? God blesses you every day as a good steward. He gives to you. And what do? Take it as your own and you abuse it. You're attached to it as if it is your own. And he's telling you, you're not even able to keep what I give you. Why would I give you your own? You are unable to keep what I give to you. No servant can serve two masters, for either he will hate one and love another, or else he will devote to one and despise the other. You cannot serve both God and wealth. A lot of people have tried to do both. With my wealth, I will serve God and destroy what God has created. Now, we've all been given many different gifts. If your gift is the ability to give freely or to give to other people freely, but you become a Pharisee, you give. What does that mean? It means you only give in a public setting who can recognize you for your gift. That's not what it says. It says give so that your left hand does not know what your right hand is doing. You embarrass people when you do that. Maybe they don't want to give something, they don't want to receive things in the public setting. So you abuse your privilege that has been gifted to you. Your gift is hospitality. You only pick and choose who you want to host. You are abusing the gift that God has given you. See how it works? You're becoming a bad steward of what God has blessed you with. A good steward is one who is trustworthy without disgrace and without dishonor. A good steward is one who is faithful with which belongs to another. A good steward is one who is faithful and content with the small things. That's the word, content. Because we are not content to seek after things that don't belong to us. Because you're not content with what you already have. Pray to God, you're not where you want to be, but you are where you need to be. That is crucial. A good steward understands that everything they have belongs to God and give God the glory and does not seek after the applause of man. A good steward does not take that which belongs to God, that which he died and bled for, as their own. What do I mean by that? I've heard many people say this. This is my church. When did you die on the cross for it? This is my building. When did you purchase it with the funds that God blessed you with? In anything you did, it's because God willed it so. Right? So all that you have belongs to him. The same can be said of our spouses, of our children, of our friends and families, of our homes and our cars. All these things and people belong to God. We are just steward of them. Just because you are taking care of them does not mean that they belong to you. You are a manager of these things. It does not matter if y'all been together for 70+ years. They're still not yours. They belong to God. Now you read this and you're like, this is so good. I'm sure the Pharisee humbled himself when they heard this, right? In 14, he says, now the Pharisees, who were lovers of money, were listening to all these things and were scoffing at him. And he said to them, you are those who justify yourself in the sight of man. Let that sink in. Think of the amount of time you try to justify the wrong you've done instead of apologizing. Well, I'm just saying, if they didn't behave the way they behaved, I would have never reacted the way I reacted. It's their fault. Who do they think they are? Well, they tested me and tried me and they got what they wanted. No, they didn't. You just showed your true colors. You realize that you give people so much power over you when you behave in the manner in which they want you to behave. I was saying this morning, when you tell people you have patience, they make it their goal to test that patience. Right? Tell people I'm a child of God. They make it their duty to test that. This is your opportunity to show that you have these things. But in the end result, you show that you don't have it. Because you spend so much time talking about it, you didn't develop it. Right? You pray for an opportunity to show the world that you have patience, but when somebody cuts you up in traffic, Lord have mercy. Right? You tell the world, I'm a Christian, I'm a child of God. But when somebody needs help, you behave like the Levite or the priest. Next guy behind you will help him. You drive on. Now the Pharisee did the same. And he said to them, you who justify yourself in the sight of man, but God knows your heart. For that which is highly esteemed among men is detestable in the sight of God. Keep looking for favor with men, you're not going to find it. What does it all mean? Well, as a steward, we're called to be trustworthy in everything that we do, in everything that we say. We're called to be faithful with that which belongs to God. What belongs to God? Everything. Everything you have belongs to God. We're called to live without reproach, without disgrace, or without dishonor. As a good steward, we are called to be a manager of all God has blessed us with. But we are not to become possessors of them, thinking or believing that they belong to us and not God. Remind me of a story. So when a man finds Jesus, it costs him everything. Jesus has happiness, joy, peace, healing, security, eternity. Man marvel at such a pearl and says, I want this pearl. How much does it cost? The seller says, it's too dear, too costly. But how much? Well, it's very expensive. Do you think I could buy it? It costs everything you have, no more, no less. So anybody who can buy it, so anybody can buy it. I'll buy it. What do you have? Let me write it down. I have 10,000 in the bank. Good. 10,000. What else? I have nothing more. That's all I have. Have you nothing more? Well, I have some dollars here in my pocket. How many? Let's see. 30, 40, 50, 100, 420, $120. That's fine. What else do you have? I have nothing else. That's all. Where do you live? I live in my house. The house too. Then you mean I have to live in the garage? You have a garage too? That too. What else? You mean I have to live in my car? That too. Give me the car. I have two. Both belong to me. Both cars. What else? Well, you have my house, my garage, my cars, the money, everything else. What else? Are you alone in the world? No, I have a wife and two children. Your wife and children too. Two. Yes, everything you have. What else? I have nothing else. I am left alone now. Oh, you too. Everything becomes mine. Wife, children, house, money, cars, everything. And you too. Now you can use all these things here, but don't forget they are mine, as you are. When I need any of these things you are using, you must give them to me because now I am the owner of it. See how funny that is? If everything I own belongs to God, I have nothing. But in God, I have everything. I was made a good steward. I love that story because it reminds me of another story. One of my favorite stories growing up was stone soup. Stone soup. Reminds me of soldiers came to a village and it's like, what do you guys have to eat? They said, we have nothing. I said, all right. Have you guys ever heard of stone soup? I said, what is that? I said, all right, bring a big pot, lit the pot on fire, put the stone in the pot. And he stirs the stew. And he says, boy, they should be great if they had some meat in it. And the butcher said, oh, I have some meat. From nothing to a meat. Oh man, this would be so great if we had some carrots. So the farmer's like, oh, I have some carrots. And he goes through the whole town and he mixed this big pot of soup with everything they lied that they didn't have. Because they didn't want to share. That's how we are. God has blessed us with everything we're ever going to need, including the gospel, which is able to save life. What do you do with it? You don't want to share with people because they don't look at us. They don't act with us, they don't talk with us. That's what we're here for. You are giving the responsibility to save life. Just like somebody took the time to save your life. See, that's what it means to be a good steward of the gospel of God. That's what it means to be a good steward of the gospel. We've got to learn to be good steward, not get attached to things that don't belong to us. They were given to us to use for his kingdom work. Got to understand that. So if you're here this morning and you want to be a good steward of what God has blessed us with, and you're ready to give your life away, like Abby is ready to give her life away, so we can start teaching her and learning and teaching her so she can understand the greatest choice she's about to make, the best decision of her life, is to submit to God. So her family can start to teach her and hug her and kiss her and call her and bother her and, number things, right? So we actually come down as we stand and sing our song of prayer, because remembering there is no other way to the Father except through the Son. And he made it pretty clear. There is no other way. We stand to sing our song of prayer.